Alrighty, so today we're going to be talking about camera basics. I wanted to start off my tutorials on my channel with the exposure triangle because I think that it is the most important fundamental thing to understand when you're starting off with either video or photography. And a lot of people, they start video or photo shooting automatic, which means that, you know, the camera controls the ISO or the aperture or the shutter speed. But once you choose to go to manual, it really opens up a lot of options for your stylistic choices. All three of the topics that we're going to be covering deals with how much light is being let into your camera and then your lens. So the main thing to remember about your shutter speed is you want your frame rate to be half of what your shutter speed is. So let's say you are shooting in 24 frames per second, you want your shutter speed to be 1/50. Or if you want to be shooting in 60 frames per second, then your shutter speed should be 1/120. So you have a wide range from 1/4 to 1/8000, and it depends on the specific camera that you are using. Moving on to ISO or ISO. ISO controls the grain in your image, and so there's a wide variety depending on what camera you are using, but it usually ranges from 100 all the way to 25,000 or so. Once you start going higher on your ISO, then the image gets grainier. You bump up your ISO only when you have a low light situation, whether you're shooting nighttime photography or videography, or you're just shooting somewhere that has bad lighting. You can counter having a higher ISO by having a light source, an external light source such as the one to my right, or just natural light as well. Moving on to aperture. So aperture really covers the depth of field, and aperture is something that a lot of beginners really just focus on because they want the bokeh or they want the blurry background behind their subject. F-stops can range from 1.2 all the way to f-stop of 22 or beyond. And so as you get a higher aperture, the amount of depth of field or the amount of bokeh decreases. And if you want a really blurry background, then you want a f-stop of 1.4, 1.8, or even f-stop of 2.2 or so. When you have a lower aperture, you're letting in more light, so less things will be in focus. And one downside of having a low f-stop is, let's say I'm shooting an interview at f-stop of like 1.4. The subject's face might not all be in focus. The tip of their nose might only be in focus, or their forehead or their hairline might be in focus. So that's why videographers recommend shooting interviews of a range of f-stop of 2.0 or on, just so that the subject is all in focus, and then you still have the super creamy background behind them. This was just a quick video about some camera basics and just kind of going over the exposure triangle. We could get more in depth on each of the ISO, aperture, and shutter speed in separate videos, and also we'll be going over the types of lenses, frame rates, and all of that good stuff later on. So like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.